viewers, it's Madam at IAS Academy and today we are going to see environment current affairs. We are going to see 50 environment current affairs in this video. Last video we have seen 16 environmental current affairs. We are going to revise that and we are going to see the rest of the current affairs in this video. We are in a series of 1000 plus current affairs within 20 days. So if you want, you can see my previous videos. I have made part 1, part 2 and part 3 video. This is part 4. So let's get started. First, Sambar Lake. Sambar Lake is India's largest inland salt lake and it is in Rajasthan. And it has bacteria and algae in it which provides striking watercolors, and it is surrounded by Aravalli hills on all the sides. And it is a Ramsar site because it is a key wintering area for pink flamingos, and this Sambar Lake receives water from some rivers like Mehta, Samod, Manta, Rupangar, Kari and Kandela. So these are the things which are relating to Sambar Lake. First one is, it is the India's largest inland salt lake. It is in Rajasthan. It is surrounded by Aravalli hill in all sides, and it is a Ramsar site because of the pink flamingos and other migratory birds. And this Sambar Lake receives water from Mehta, Samod, Manta, Rupangar, Kari and Kandela. EIA stands for Environmental Impact Assessment. It is a statutory backed process. It is under the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and it identifies the environmental, economic and social impacts of a project. It identifies the environmental, social and economic impacts of a project prior to its implementation, and it gives the conclusion report to the government, and the government can decide whether it can give clearance to that particular project or not, and it also says measures to minimize the impacts. These are the things by environmental impact assessment. So first one is EIA stands for Environmental Impact Assessment. It is a statutory backed process under the Environmental Protection Act 1986, and it gives it deals about the socio-economic and the environmental impacts of the project. It tells the social, economic and environmental impacts of a project prior to its implementation, and it gives report to the government, and the government can decide whether it can give clearance to the particular project or not, and it also tells methods to minimize those impacts. Then we have biofuels. There are two common biofuels. Biofuels are nothing but they are obtained from biomass and they are converted into liquid fuel so that it can be used as a transportation fuel, and there are two commonly used biofuels. Those are ethanol and biodiesel. Ethanol and biodiesel. Ethanol is a renewable one which is obtained from plant resources, whereas biodiesel is obtained by the combination of alcohol plus new or used cooking oil. So biodiesel is obtained from biomass and it is converted into a liquid fuel so that it can be used as a transportation fuel. The most commonly used biofuels are ethanol and biodiesel. Ethanol is the renewable one which is obtained from plant resources, whereas biodiesel is obtained by the combination of alcohol plus new or used cooking oil, and this biodiesel can be used as a rocket fuel also. Recently a rocket was launched using this biofuel and it is called as Stardust 1. Stardust 1.0 was launched using biofuel and it became the first commercial space launch powered by the biofuel. Then we have Indian Wilderness. We have Indian Wilderness Sanctuary. Indian Wilderness Sanctuary is located in Gujarat. It is in the Little Rann of Kutch region, and the Gujarat is the only place in which you can find both Asiatic lions as well as the Indian wilderness, and the Indian wilderness population is constantly increasing. As per the Gujarat Forest Department report, it has been increased by 37%, and the Indian wilderness population has constantly increasing from 1969 to 2020, and the district in Gujarat which has the highest amount of Indian wilderness population is Surendranagar. So let's repeat, Indian Wilderness Sanctuary, it is in Gujarat and it is in the Little Rann of Kutch region, and Gujarat is the only place in which you can find both Asiatic lions and Indian wilderness. And according to the Gujarat Forest Department report, the Indian wilderness population has been increased to 37%, and from 1969 to 2020 the Indian wilderness population is constantly increasing, and Gujarat is the place where more wildlife is found, right? In that, particularly in Surendranagar district only, highest wildlife population is there. So based on the population, Surendranagar is number 1 and the second position is only to Kutch. Then we have NTCA. NTCA stands for National Tiger Conservation Authority. It is under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The NTCA chairman is Ministry of Environment and Forest. Is the chairman of NTCA and the functions. It is a statutory body actually. It is a statutory body. It is under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It is constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and the main role of the NTCA is to submit audit reports of the tiger conservation plans before the parliament, and it also make reserve conservation plans. It also make tiger conservation plans specific to particular reserve. It make tiger conservation plans and it also grant approval. It is according approval for declaring the new tiger reserves. So these are the roles of NTCA. So NTCA stands for National Tiger Conservation Authority. It is under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the chairman of the NTCA is Minister of Environment and Forest, and it is a statutory body. It is constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and the main roles or the functions of the NTCA is it submits audit report to the Parliament regarding the tiger conservation, and it makes tiger reserve specific tiger conservation plans, and it is according approval for declaring new tiger reserves. These are the functions of NTCA. Then we have Arctic. So Arctic, none of the India's territory is directly inside the Arctic, but India has a permanent research station in the Arctic which is called as Himadri. Himadri is the India's first permanent research station in Arctic which is located in Norway. And we need to study Arctic. Why? Because if there is a change in Arctic temperature, change in Arctic climate, it is going to affect our India's monsoon, which is going to affect our India's weather. So we should study Arctic. The three major things are none of the India's territory directly falls under Arctic, but India has a permanent research station in Arctic which is called as Himadri. Himadri is the first India's permanent research station in Arctic which is located in Norway. And the reason why we should study Arctic is if there is a changes in Arctic climate, it is going to affect our India's monsoon. Therefore, it will affect our India's weather conditions. And third generation biofuel, we have already seen what is biofuel. It is obtained from biomass, in which the third generation biofuel is obtained from algae. So it is obtained from algae. Then we have Gastrodia agnicellus. Gastrodia agnicellus is the ugliest orchid species in the world and it is found in Madagascar. It is regarded as ugliest orchid species by the Royal Botanical Garden which is located in London. So Gastrodia agnicellus it is an orchid species and it is regarded as the ugliest orchid species by the Royal Botanical Garden which is located in London, and it is discovered in Madagascar. And then we have Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve is the largest protected forest area in India and it is located in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. And we have Sigur Plateau. Sigur Plateau is the one which connects the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Sigur Plateau connects the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats, and the Sigur Plateau sustains elephant population. And to the Sigur Plateau, it has Nilgiri Hills on the southwestern side. The Sigur Plateau has Nilgiri Hills on the southwestern side. So those are the things relating Nilgiri Reserve. First, Nilgiri Reserve is the largest protected forest area in India. It is located in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Sigur Plateau is the one which connects Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. It sustains elephant population, and to the Sigur Plateau, Nilgiri Hills is on the southwestern side. Then we have Asiatic cheetah. Asiatic cheetah is believed to survive only in Iran today, but once it was in India, but it came to extinction in 1952. It is under the critically endangered species. It is fairly adaptable and it is highly climate tolerant, but it feeds on specialized prey and it cannot tolerate human intervention. So these are the things relating to Asiatic cheetah. Asiatic cheetah is believed to survive only in Iran. It once roamed in India's grasslands and forests, but it came into extinction in India in 1952. It is listed as critically endangered and it is fairly adaptable and it has high climate tolerance, but it feeds on a specialized prey and it is not tolerant towards human intervention. And then we have Moya River Valley. Moya River Valley is in Tamil Nadu, and this Moya River is also in Tamil Nadu. Moya River is a tributary of Bhavani River. Bhavani River is in Tamil Nadu. And this Moya river valley act as a natural line of separation between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. And this Moya river valley also act as a separation between Bandipur National Park and Mudumalai National Park. These are the things which are relating to Moya river valley. Moya river valley is a river valley. It is a river. It is a tributary of Bhavani river, which is located in Tamil Nadu. So Moya river valley is in Tamil Nadu. It is a natural line of separation between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, and it also acts as a separation between Bandipur National Park and Mudumalai National Park. NGT stands for National Green Tribunal. National Green Tribunal is a specialized judicial body, and it is specialized judicial body, and it is established in 2010. It has a power of a civil court, and it will deal about the environmental cases. This NGT will deal about the environmental cases, and the decision which are given by NGT is binding, and unless they can approach the Supreme Court within 90 days, and they can also grant relief in the form of compensation, etc. And it is an open court so that anyone can attend. These are the things which are relating to NGT. NGT stands for National Green Tribunal, which was established in 2010. It is a judicial body, and it deals about the environmental cases. The decisions which are given by NGT is binding unless you approach the Supreme Court within 90 days, and it can grant relief in the form of compensation, etc. It has the power of a civil court, and it is an open court so that anyone can attend. GTA stands for Global Tiger Initiative. It was 2008 launched. It is an initiative of the World Bank. The founding partners of the GTA are World Bank, Global Environmental Facility, Smithsonian Institute, and Save the Tiger Fund, and International Tiger Coalition. These are the founding partners of GTA. And GTA, the main aim of GTA is to save the tigers from extinction, but in 2013 they also included snow leopards. So these are the things which are relating to GTA. GTA stands for Global Tiger Initiative. Global Tiger Initiative is 2008 launched, and it is the founding partners of GTA are is World Bank, Global Environmental Facility, Smithsonian Institute, and Save the Tiger Fund, International Tiger Coalition. And in 2013 they included snow leopard. The main aim of GTA is to save the tigers from extinction. Then we have Aerosols National Park. Aerosols National Park is in Kerala, Idukki district, and it has Aanemudi. Aanemudi is the highest peak. In the South India, Aanemudi is the highest peak, and its height is 2695 meter. It is in the Aerosols National Park, and this Aerosols National Park has high grasslands. It has high altitude grasslands, and IUCN is planning to start a grasshopper specialist group. They are going to check the grasshoppers in India. They are going to estimate the grasshoppers in India, which is going to be done in this Aerosols National Park. So what it is in news. So Aerosols National Park, it is in Kerala's Idukki district. It is in Aanemudi. Aanemudi is in Aerosols National Park. Aanemudi is the South India's highest peak. It is at the height of 2695 meter, and this Aerosols National Park has high altitude grasslands. And these are the points which are related. And Aerosols National Park is in Western Ghats. It is located along the Western Ghats. So these are the points which are relating to Aerosols National Park. Then we have Dhauli-Ganga River. Dhauli-Ganga River originates as Vasudhara Tal. Origin is Vasudhara Tal. Vasudhara Tal is the largest glacial lake in Uttarakhand, and this Dhauli-Ganga River will meet the Alaknanda River. It meets the Alaknanda River at Vishnuprayag. And this Dhauli-Ganga River also meets Rishi Ganga. It meets Rishi Ganga at Raini. And this Dhauli-Ganga River passes through Nanda Devi National Park. These are the points which are relating to Dhauli-Ganga River. So Dhauli-Ganga River origin is at Vasudhara Tal. Vasudhara Tal is the largest glacial lake in Uttarakhand, and it meets the Alaknanda River at Vishnuprayag, and it meets Rishi Ganga at Raini, and it flows through Nanda Devi National Park. Then we have GLOF. GLOF stands for Glacial Lake Outburst Flood. The sudden release of water from a dam. The sudden release of water from a dam, from a water which is dammed by glacier. The glacier is the one which acted as a dam. So the sudden release of water from from a glacier which dammed the water is called as a GLOF, which stands for Glacial Lake Outburst Flood. And the topography of Hindu Kush Himalaya support this formation of small glacial lakes, and this small glacial lakes has the high risk of developing the glacial lake outburst flood. And synthetic aperture radar can detect the formation of small lakes and other water bodies. So these are the things which are relating to GLOF. GLOF stands for glacial lake outburst flood. It is nothing but it is the flooding that occurs when the water that is dammed by a glacier is released suddenly, and the Hindu Kush mountain supports the formation of small glacial lakes which has high risk of glacial lake outburst flood, and the synthetic aperture radar will detect the formation of new bodies and the alteration of water bodies. So we have revised all these things. Then let us go to the things which we have left. So 17th thing is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve is in Western Ghats. Nilgiri subcluster is in Western Ghats. Western Ghats is declared as UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is declared as UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2012. In Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, we have 6 national parks and 2 wildlife sanctuaries. The 6 national parks which are under the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve are Aralam National Park, Mudumalai National Park, Nagarhole National Park, Bandipur National Park, and Silent Valley National Park, and Mukurti. These are the national parks which are located in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, and those are RLM National Park, Mudumalai National Park, Nagarhole National Park, Bandipur National Park, Silent Valley National Park, and Mukurti National Park. Apart from this, we have some wildlife sanctuaries which are located in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. We have 2 wildlife reserves which are located in the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, and those are Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary and Satyamangalam Wildlife Sanctuary. So these are the things which are located in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, it is in Western Ghats. The Nilgiri subcluster is a part of Western Ghats. Western Ghats is declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2012, and it has 6 national parks and 2 wildlife sanctuaries. The 6 national parks are Aralam National Park, Mudumalai National Park, Nagarhole National Park, Bandipur National Park, Silent Valley National Park, and Mukurti National Park, and it has 2 wildlife sanctuaries, and those are Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary and Satyamangalam Wildlife Sanctuary. Then we have Pangso Lake. So Pangsong Lake, it is at a height of 4250 meter. It is a saline lake, but it freezes in winter. It is an endorheic lake. This endorheic lake, and this Pangso Lake is separated from the Indus River Basin by a small elevated ridge, and it is under the process of getting into Ramsar Convention. These are the things which are relating to Pangso Lake. So Pangso Lake, it is at an altitude of 4250 meter, and it is a saline lake. Though it is a saline lake, it freezes in winter. It is an endorheic lake, and this Pangso Lake is separated from the Indus River Basin by a small elevated ridge. It is separated from the Indus River Basin by a small elevated ridge, and it is under the process of getting into Ramsar Convention. If it gets into the Ramsar Convention, it will become the first transboundary river in South Asia to get under the convention. And this lake length is 1 to 4 meter long. It is 1 to 4 meter long, and 50% of this lake is in the Tibetan Autonomous Region. Then we have Inkois. So Inkois, we are going to see the ocean resources, the resources which are available in the ocean floor. There are certain resources which are available in the ocean floor, and those are first polymetallic nodules. Polymetallic nodules, cobalt-rich manganese crust, hydrothermal deposits, and gas hydrates. These are the resources which are available in the ocean floor. The major resources which are available in ocean floor are polymetallic nodules, cobalt-rich manganese crust, and hydrothermal deposits and gas hydrates. Out of the 4 major resources which are available in ocean floor, only gas hydrates is available in India's exclusive economic zone in a mineable quantity. So in mineable quantity, only gas hydrates is available in India. And this Inkois is relating to ocean only. Inkois stands for Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. It is an autonomous body, and it is under the Ministry of Earth Science. And it deals about it provides and manages the oceanic data. So these are the things which are relating to ocean. So the major resources which are available in ocean floor are polymetallic nodules, cobalt-rich manganese crust, hydrothermal deposits, and gas hydrates. Out of the 4, the resource which is available in India is gas hydrate. Gas hydrate is the only major resource of the ocean floor which is available in India's exclusive economic zone in a mineable quantity. And INCOIS. INCOIS stands for Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. It is an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Earth Science, and it deals about the oceanic data. It manages and provides the oceanic data. Then we are going to see geomagnetic reversal. So geomagnetic reversal is if there is a change in magnetic field. It is because of the change in magnetic field, the position of magnetic north and the magnetic south is interchanged. We are talking about the magnetic north and the magnetic south. Don't confuse it with the geographic north and the geographic south. So there is a change in magnetic field. Because of this, the magnetic north and the magnetic south is interchanged, and because of this geomagnetic reversal, some of the birds which uses the magnetic field for their navigation will get affected. Example, you can say birds, sea turtles will lose their routine routes. So geomagnetic reversal, it is the changes in the magnetic field which results in the change of the magnetic north and the magnetic south, and because of this, the birds and the animals which use the magnetic field for navigation will get affected. Example, birds and sea turtles. Relating sea turtles, we have another one fact called as sea turtles uses the sand. It lay eggs on the sand, and the sand temperature is one which determines the gender of the sea turtle. So the temperature of the sand determines this gender of the sea turtle, and if the temperature of the sand, if the eggs are laid in a upper warmer part, then it becomes female turtles. If it is laid on a lower cooler region, then it becomes males. But because of this global warming, what happens is most of the region will get warmer. Because of this, the population, the sea turtles can have more females compared to that of males in future. It can affect the genetic diversity of the sea turtles. This is another one effect which is having in sea turtles because of this global warming and the climate change. So geomagnetic reversal is nothing but it is the changes in magnetic field. It is the changes in magnetic field which changes the magnetic north and the magnetic south position, and because of this, the birds and the animals which use magnetic field for the navigation will get affected. Example, we have birds and sea turtles. Sea turtles also face threat by global warming. Sea turtles lay eggs on the sand. The temperature of the sand is the one which determines the gender of the sea turtles. If the leg is laid in the upper warmer region, then it becomes female. If it is laid in a lower cooler part, it becomes female. It becomes males. But if there is a global warming, more region will become warmer. Because of this, there is a possibility there will be more females compared to that of males. This will affect their genetic diversity. Then we are going to talk about the glaciers. Glaciers are the major source of fresh water. Glaciers are the major source of fresh water in North India. In North India, most of the rivers which are flowing get water from the glaciers, and this the number of glaciers is actually shrinking. Because of this global warming, the number of glaciers is getting reduced, but the number of glacial lakes is getting increased. Why? Because if the glacier is getting melted, they will be formed into a lake. There is a glacier mass, and this glacier mass, if it is melted, then it will be forming a glacial lake. So because of this global warming, the number of glaciers has decreased and the number of glacial lakes has increased. And there is an estimation that from 1850 to 2070, there will be a global temperature increase of 2 degrees Celsius. If there is a global temperature increase of 2 degrees Celsius, what happens is more than 45%, about 45% of the medium and large glaciers will disappear, and the 70% of the small glaciers will disappear. This is what estimated. So about glaciers, glacier is a major freshwater source, and most of the North Indian rivers get water from the glaciers, and because of this global warming, the number of glaciers is getting decreased and the number of glacial lakes is getting increased. And in 1850 to 2070, there is an estimation that 2 degrees Celsius rise in the global temperature. If there is a 2 degrees Celsius rise in the global temperature, what happens is 45% of the large and the medium glaciers will disappear, and 70% of the small glaciers will disappear. And there are certain tiger reserves which have no tigers, and those are Dampa Tiger Reserve. Dampa Tiger Reserve does not have any tigers. Dampa Tiger Reserve, Palamayu Tiger Reserve, and Buxa Tiger Reserve. Dampa Tiger Reserve is in Mizoram. Palamaya Tiger Reserve, Jharkhand. And Buxa Tiger Reserve is in West Bengal. So these are the tiger reserves that do not have tiger. There are 3 tiger reserves that do not have tiger, and those are Dampa Tiger Reserve in Mizoram, Palamayu Tiger Reserve in Jharkhand, and Buxa Tiger Reserve in West Bengal. These tiger reserves do not have any tigers now. FLR stands for Forest Landscape Restoration. FLR stands for Forest Landscape Restoration. Generally, if there is a program like this, generally we people think that it is only about planting trees. But FLR plan says that it is not just about planting trees, but it is beyond that. It is a plan to restore the whole landscape. It is a plan to restore the whole landscape, and under this they talk about the they involve in this FLR. They involve in agroforestry, planting trees, and managing the natural regeneration of the forest, riverside planting, and protected wildlife reserves, or the things which are talked under this forest landscape restoration. So forest landscape restoration, it is not just about planting trees. It restores the whole landscape, and it involves in agroforestry, it manages the natural regeneration of forest, and it makes riverside plantings, and it also talks about the protected wildlife reserves. These are the things which forest landscape restoration is involved. Then we have leatherback turtle. Leatherback turtle is the largest species of the 7 sea turtles. Of the 7 species of sea turtles, leatherback turtle is the largest one, and it is found in all oceans except Arctic and Antarctic. It is found in Indian Ocean in the region of Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And this leatherback turtle is listed as, it is under the Schedule 1. It is under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So these are the points relating to leatherback turtle. So leatherback turtle is the largest sea turtle of the 7 species of sea turtles. It is found in all oceans except Arctic and Antarctic. In Indian Ocean, it is found in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Andaman Nicobar. It is under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Therefore, according to it, highest level of productivity. Then bottom trawling. Bottom trawling is a method of catching the fish, and this bottom trawling, what they do is they drag heavy weighted nets down the sea floor. They drag a heavy weighted net across the sea floor in an effort to catch the fish. What they try to catch it, they try to catch shrimp, cod, and other sea fishes which are found in the bottom of the floor. But what they do is they accidentally catch sea turtles which they have not intended to catch. They accidentally catch sea turtles, and they also destroy the sea grass, coral reefs, and the rock gardens. So these are the harmful effects of bottom trawling. So bottom trawling is not good for the marine diversity, and most of the fishing in India is not based on the bottom trawling. In India, bottom trawling is not mostly followed. So these are the things which are relating to bottom trawling. Bottom trawling is a method of catching the fish in which heavy weighted nets are dragged across the sea floor in an effort to catch shrimp, cod, and other sea fishes which are found in the underground. But what it does is it catches sea turtles and other animals which they have not intended to catch, and it also destroys the seagrass, coral reefs, and other rock gardens which are found in the bottom of the sea floor. So it is not good for marine diversity, and it is not followed in India. Mostly it is not followed in India. And then we discuss about flash drought. Flash drought occurs when the soil moisture decreases rapidly. When the soil moisture decreases rapidly, then it is called as flash drought. Generally, for a drought to occur, it takes month. It takes more than a month to occur. But this flash drought occurs within a week or 2 weeks time. This flash drought occurs. It is generally believed that it occurs during the summer season, but it is actually not true in Indian case. It generally occurs during summer season in Western countries, but in India, 82% of the flash droughts that is reported happen during the monsoon period. And the major cause of this flash drought is greenhouse emission by the anthropogenic causes. So these are the things which are relating to flash drought. Flash drought is due to the sudden decrease of the soil moisture. It happens within a week or 2, and it is generally believed that it happens during summer because mostly it happened during summer in the Western countries. But in India, 82% of the flash drought that is reported has happened during the monsoon period, and this flash drought mainly happens because of the anthropogenic causes like greenhouse emissions. And western disturbance, relating western disturbance, I have only one point to say. Western disturbance increases. It causes rainfall in the extreme north of the India. That is, it causes rainfall in the Jammu and Kashmir, and it decreases the temperature in the Punjab Haryana belt. It decreases the temperature in Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi region. Whereas the easterly winds is another one wind which increases the temperature in Punjab Haryana region. So these are the things. It increases the temperature in northern India, whereas western disturbance decreases the temperature in Punjab Haryana belt. So the thing is, western disturbance bring rainfall in the Jammu and Kashmir region. It brings rainfall in the extreme north India, whereas it decreases the temperature in Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi region, whereas this easterly wind will increase the temperature in the northern India. Then we have Kailash Range. Kailash Range is the theatre of conflict in the 1962 Chinese offensive war, in which two battles are fought at Resengla and Gurung Hill. The key features of Kailash Range. There are certain key features of Kailash Range, and those of Gurung Hill: helmet top, Spangur Gap, Mughar Hill, Resengla and Chinla. These are some of the key features in the Kailash Range. So Kailash Range is the theatre of conflict in the 1962 Chinese offensive war, in which two battles are found at Resengla and Gurung Hill. The key features of Kailash Range are Gurung Hill, helmet top, Spangur Gap, Mughar Hill, Resengla and Chinla. These are the key features of Kailash Range. Actually, how it is situated is, first we have Karakoram, then we have Ladakh, then we have Zanskar. So Karakoram, Ladakh, Zanskar, and in this region we have another one range, and here we have Pangsong Lake, the lake which we have seen here. Here we have Pangsong's Lake, and here in this region only we have Kailash Range. So this is how it is. First we have Karakoram range, below that we have Ladakh range, here we have Zanskar range, below Ladakh range, and here Panangso Lake we have in this region. So Panangso Lake, in the northern side of the Panangso Lake, after that only we have Karakoram range. So this is how it is. So carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, which is released by a individual activity, that is called as carbon footprint. So it is the amount of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, which is released by a individual, which is released by a particular human activity. And Chandigarh has released an app called as Carbon Watch. Chandigarh is the first state or UT to do so. It has released an app called as Carbon Watch, which will track the individual footprint. It will access the footprint of an individual. So this Carbon Watch is launched by Chandigarh, and it is the first state in India to do so, and it will track the carbon footprint of an individual. And there are certain ways in which we can reduce the carbon footprint, which means carbon footprint is nothing but the amount of greenhouse gases or carbon dioxide which is released by an individual is called as carbon footprint. There are certain ways in which we can reduce the carbon footprint, and those are, first one is adopting plant-based diet. What happens is, if we adopt plant-based diet, then the amount of meat which is needed for producing we need cattle to produce meat. So the amount of cattle will be reduced. If the amount of cattle is reduced, then the methane will also be reduced. So reducing the cattle, it will reduce the methane. Therefore, changing to plant-based diet will reduce the carbon footprint, and also adopting one less child. So one less child means humans are intaking oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. Humans are also a cause of greenhouse emission. So adopting one less child and using plant-based diet are the ways to reduce one's carbon footprint. Fog. So fog is a phenomenon of small droplets remaining suspended in the air. The small droplets will be suspended in the air, and it will hamper the visibility. It is generally found in morning and evening. It is generally found in early morning and evening, and it hampers the visibility. And the western disturbance, which we have talked, which will bring rainfall to the Jammu and Kashmir, and it will decrease the temperature in Delhi, Punjab, Haryana belt. This western disturbance will increase the fog persistence. It will lead to the development of fog over the Punjab, Haryana belt, and calm winds is one of the major causes for the fog. If there is a calm wind and clear sky condition, the fog will persist for a longer time. So fog is, first, the fog is a phenomenon of small droplets remaining suspended in the air. It will hamper the visibility, and it is generally found in the morning and evening period. And the western disturbances which bring Rainfall to the Jammu and Kashmir, which decreases the temperature in Punjab Haryana belt, will lead to the development of fog in that region, and the calm wind and clear sky conditions are one of the factors which will make the fog to persist in the atmosphere for a longer duration. And then we have drought. Drought is a consequence of natural reduction in the amount of precipitation. It is a natural reduction in the amount of precipitation over an extended period of time, usually a season or more. So the amount of precipitation is reduced for more than a season or more, means it is called as drought. And drought is often associated with high temperature and low humidity. It is often associated with high temperature and low humidity. And during this drought, there are 4 types of drought we can say. One is meteorological drought, hydrological drought, agricultural drought, and socio-economic drought. These are the types of drought. Agricultural drought occurs when there is inadequate moisture. If the moisture is not adequate for the healthy crop to grow, then it is called as agricultural drought. So first, generally drought refers to the condition in which the amount of precipitation is very low for more than a season or more. If the amount of precipitation is reduced for more than a season or more, then it is called as drought. There are different types of drought: meteorological drought, hydrological drought, agricultural drought, and socio-economic drought. Agricultural drought occurs if the moisture is reduced. If the soil moisture is not adequate for the supporting healthy crops to grow, then it is called as agricultural drought. Generally, during drought, there will be high temperature and low humidity. High temperature and low humidity will aggravate the condition of drought. Then we have Alaknanda river. We have already seen Dauliganga. Dauliganga meets Alaknanda river at Vishnuprayag. Alaknanda river is a tributary of Ganga, and Alaknanda river has many tributaries. The tributaries of Alaknanda river are Nandagini, Pindar, Mandagini, Bhagirathi, are the tributaries of Alaknanda river. And relating Alaknanda river, it rises at Satopant glacier. So Alaknanda river rises at Satopant glacier. So Alaknanda river, actually first Alaknanda fruits, it meets the Dauliganga river, it meets Dauliganga at Vishnuprayag. Then Alaknanda meets the Nandagini river at the Nandaprayag. It is Nandagini. It is Dauliganga. Then after Nandaprayag, it meets the Pindar. It meets the Pindar river at Karnaprayag. And then it meets Mandagini. It meets Mandagini at Rudraprayag. And after this, it meets Bhagirathi. It meets Bhagirathi at Devaprayag. So first, Alaknanda rivers meets Dauliganga at Vishnuprayag. It meets Nandagini at Nandaprayag. It meets Pindar river at Karnaprayag. It meets Mandagini at Rudraprayag, and then it meets Bhagirathi at Devaprayag. Thereafter, after the Devaprayag, it is called as Ganga, and it flows through Rishikesh and Haridwar. This is Alaknanda river. So Alaknanda river rises at Satopant glacier, and Alaknanda river meets Dauliganga river at Vishnuprayag, and it meets Nandagini river at Nandaprayag, and it meets Pindar river at Karnaprayag, and it meets Mandagini river at Rudraprayag, and Bhagirathi river at Devaprayag. After Devaprayag, it is called as Ganga, and it flows through Rishikesh and Haridwar. So these are the things which are relating to Alaknanda river. Then we have CCGWA. CCGWA stands for Central Groundwater Authority. It stands for Central Groundwater Authority. It is under the Environmental Protection Act 1986, and it is for the purpose of groundwater development and management. So CGWA stands for Central Groundwater Authority, and it is constituted under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. That is the important point. It is constituted under the Environmental Protection Act 1986, and it is for the management of groundwater resources and for the development of groundwater resources in the country. Then CCPA is an index. It is a climate change performance index. It is climate change performance index, which is released by the German Watch. It is released by German Watch. It is released annually. It is published annually by German Watch, New Climate Institute, and the Climate Action Network. So CCPA stands for Climate Change Performance Index. It is a report which is released annually by the German Watch, New Climate Institute, and Climate Action Network. This CCPA, in this India has ranked 9th last year, and in this year it was ranked 10th. But it is really good. Why? Because for the 2 consecutive years we have ranked in the top 10 position, and USA is the one which is ranked at the last. So the thing is, CCPA stands for Climate Change Performance Index, and it is annually released by German Watch, the New Climate Institute, and the Climate Action Network. And India is ranked 9th in the last year, and in this year it was ranked 10th, and USA is the one which is ranked at the last position. And this CCPA top 3 ranks are not filled by any countries. None of the countries has met the criteria that CCPA has fixed. So top 3 countries is not filled by any of the countries, and now India is in 10th position. That is really good. Then we have Making Peace with Nature report. Making Peace with Nature report is by UNEP. It is a report of United Nations Environmental Program, and it is a scientific blueprint to tackle the climate change, to tackle the pollution emergencies and all that. It is based on the global environmental assessment. It is based on the evidence from global environmental assessment. So Making Peace with Nature report, it is a report of UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. It is a scientific blueprint of the climate, biodiversity and the pollution emergencies, and it is based on the evidence from global environmental assessment. So these are the things which are relating to the Making Peace with Nature report. Then we have aerosols. Aerosols are the solid or liquid particles that is suspended in the air. These aerosols are affecting the way clouds form. This will affect the way clouds form, and some aerosol particles are also reflective. Therefore, it influences the climate. The sun rays which are reaching the earth will be reflected by these aerosol particles. Therefore, it influences the climate. And there are 2 types of aerosols. One is natural, one is anthropogenic. The natural aerosols are fog, dust, mist, forest exudates and gaseous system, whereas in the anthropogenic aerosols we have particulate gas pollutants, air pollutants, and we also have smoke. These are the 2 types, and example for this aerosol is we have Mount Pinatubo. Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991. During its eruption, it threw some reflective rock particles into the upper stratosphere. Because of this, the earth was cooled for the next 2 years. The planet was entirely cooled for the next 2 years. So it is an example of reflection thing that aerosol is having. So aerosol is a fine liquid or solid particle that is suspended in the air. It affects the way clouds form, and it is also reflective in nature. Some of the aerosols are reflective in nature. Therefore, it reflects the sun rays which is reaching the earth. Because of this, it influences the climate. There are 2 types of aerosols. We have natural aerosols as well as anthropogenic aerosols. And the natural aerosols we have fog, dust, mist, forest exudates, gaseous system, etc. And anthropogenic aerosols we have particulate air pollutants and smoke. Example for this aerosol reflective property, we have Mount Pinatubo. Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991. It threw some reflective rock particles into the upper stratosphere. Because of this, our planet is cooled for the next 2 years. And then we have coal gasification. Coal gasification is a method of converting the coal into syngas. It is a method of converting coal into syngas. Syngas stands for synthesis gas. The synthesis gas contains hydrogen, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. And this coal gasification can be done using the low grade coal also. And it is imported. It will reduce the dependence of the liquefied natural gas. Why? Because nowadays liquefied natural gas is used for the production of urea fertilizer. But by using this syngas which is produced from the coal gasification process, we can produce electricity, we can produce chemicals and we can produce fertilizers, through which the import of the liquefied natural gas can be reduced. So relating coal gasification converts the coal into syngas or synthesis gas. Syngas or synthesis gas is primarily composed of hydrogen, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, and this syngas can be used for the production of electricity, chemicals and fertilizers. And this coal gasification can be produced using low grade coal also, and it reduces the import of liquefied natural gas. Why? Because nowadays urea fertilizers is mostly produced from the liquefied natural gas which is imported to the country. Then we have Satkosia Tiger Reserve. Satkosia Tiger Reserve is in Odisha. So it is like a match the following. Satkosia Tiger Reserve is in Odisha, Kanha Tiger Reserve is in Madhya Pradesh, and Bandwak Tiger Reserve is in Madhya Pradesh. So Satkosia Tiger Reserve is in Odisha, Kanha Tiger Reserve Madhya Pradesh, Bandwak Tiger Reserve is in Madhya Pradesh. Now we are going to discuss net zero emission. Net zero emission is nothing but, it doesn't mean that the country should bring down their emissions to zero. It simply means that the emission and the absorption level should be managed. So the amount of emission should be compensated by the amount of absorption. So the amount of emission, if it is compensated by amount of absorption, then it is called as net zero emissions. Many countries are planning to achieve net zero emission by the middle of the century. So net zero emission does not mean that the emission should be brought down to zero level, but it means that the emission, the amount of thing which is emitted by the country should be compensated by the amount of things which is absorbed. So observed means the thing which can absorb is, we have carbon sinks. Carbon sink is nothing but planting more trees and developing more forest will act as a carbon sink. So making more carbon sinks and developing future technologies like carbon capture and storage are also methods to achieve this net zero emission. So these are the things relating to net zero emissions. And agricultural emissions. There are certain things which are emitted from agriculture also. Methane is emitted from agriculture. So we can reduce the agricultural emission. The ways to reduce the agricultural emissions we are going to see. Increasing the milk productivity, increasing the cattle's productivity will lead to reduction in agricultural emissions. Why? Because the cattle is the one which emit methane. The cattle emit methane. If there is more number of cattle, then the amount of methane which is emitted will be increased. If the cattle productivity is increased, what happens is we need fewer animals for more milk. Productivity is increased milk. One cattle will itself produce 100 liters of milk. Say, if earlier 10 cattle is needed for 100 liters of milk, this one cattle, if it is needed for this 100 liter of milk, then the productivity is increased. The amount of methane which is emitted by the particular cattle is reduced, because in the place of 10 now we are having only one, right? So increasing the cattle productivity is one method, and also alternate wetting and drying of paddy and reducing the frequency of irrigation. Actually, by reducing the frequency of irrigation, the amount of methane which is emitted from the flooded rice fields, from flooded rice fields many amount of methane is emitted. From flooded rice fields methane is emitted. So by reducing the frequency of irrigation, the methane which is emitted can be cut into half. And also using organic agriculture, or the methods to reduce agricultural emissions. So the methods to reduce agricultural emission is to increase the cattle productivity, to use alternate wetting and drying of paddy, and to reduce the frequency of irrigation. By reducing the frequency of irrigation, the amount of methane which is emitted from the flooded rice fields can be cut into half, and by using organic agriculture also we can reduce the agricultural emissions. Then we have Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra is a river that flows through Tibet as well as India, and while it was flowing through Tibet, it doesn't flood much, but in India it is flooding often. Why is the reason is, in Tibet it is flowing through a dry cold area. It is flowing through dry cold area in Tibet, whereas in India it is flowing through a region which is having heavy rainfall, and because of this heavy rainfall it is flooded often in India, and also it is flowing through a region and it changes the course often. The Brahmaputra river changes its course often, and it carries heavy silt, and because of all these things it is flooding often in India compared to that of Tibet. So Tibet it passes through dry cold region, whereas in India it passes through heavy rainfall region and changes its course often. The Brahmaputra river changes its course often, and it carries heavy amount of silt. Because of these region it floods often in India compared to that of Tibet. And we have Namdapha National Park. Namdapha National Park is in Arunachal Pradesh, and through this Namdapha National Park, Nawading River flows. Nawading River flows through this Namdapha National Park. Earlier we have seen Nanda Devi National Park. So Dauliganga River flows through Nanda Devi National Park. Here Namdapha National Park, Nawading River flows through it. It is in Arunachal Pradesh, and it is the only reserve in India to have 4 feline cat species. It has tiger, snow leopard, clouded leopard and leopard. It is the only India's reserve to have tiger, snow leopard, clouded leopard and leopard together. And Nawading River flows through it, and it is in Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have natural gas. Natural gas primarily consists methane. It primarily consists methane, but it also contains some other chemicals, like it contains carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide and helium. So natural gas primarily contains methane, but it also contains other chemicals, like it contains carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide and helium in a small quantity. And this natural gas is generally found in deep underground rock formations. And this natural gas is formed when the decomposed, when the plant and the animals which are decomposed is exposed to intense heat and pressure, this natural gas is formed. So these are the things which are relating to natural gas. So natural gas primarily consists of methane, but it also contains a minor quantity of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen, sulfur and helium. It is obtained from deep rock formations, and it is formed when the decomposing animal and plant materials, if it is exposed to intense heat and pressure, natural gas is formed, and this natural gas is used in the manufacture of plastic and some organic chemicals. It is used in the manufacture of plastic and some organic chemicals. These are the things which are relating to natural gas. Then we have POP. POP stands for persistent organic pollutants. Persistent organic pollutants has a property of LRET. LRET stands for long range environmental transport, which means it gets transported from one food chain to the another. It gets transported to one food chain to another. Because of this, the food chain which is in the top of the food chain, the animal which is in the top of the food chain will have the greatest amount of concentration of this PEP, and because of this POP, persistent organic pollutant, the people can get affected by cancer. It can affect the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system, and it can also cause some reproductive disorders, and it is also lipophilic, which means that it can accumulate in fatty tissue. These are the properties of persistent organic pollutants. So persistent organic pollutants have the property of LRET. LRET stands for long range environmental transport, and it affects the top animals. The animal in the top food chain will get affected more. It has the greatest concentration of POP, and it will cause cancer, central nervous system damage, peripheral nervous system damage, and some reproductive disorders. It is lipophilic, therefore it gets accumulated on the fatty tissue. And the things which contribute to SO2 emission. The things which contribute to the SO2 emission is volcanoes, fires, and burning the coal, fossil fuel. And phytoplankton also contribute to this SO2 emission. Phytoplankton, the marine phytoplankton emit a substance called as dimethyl sulfate. So phytoplankton also contribute to this SO2 emission, and smelter ovens. These are the things which contribute for the SO2 emission. The things which contribute for the SO2 emission is we have volcano, fire, coal, fuel, burning of coal and fossil fuels, phytoplanktons, some marine phytoplanktons emit dimethyl sulfate, and we have smelter ovens which also contribute for this SO2 emission. Then we have global assessment report. The global assessment report is released by UN Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. The global assessment report is released by UN Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. Why it is in news is this global assessment report says that the places where indigenous people have owned land is facing a little amount of biodiversity loss compared to that of places which are occupied by other people. The rate of decline in biodiversity is low in places where the indigenous people own land. This is what the report said. So global assessment report is by UN Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, which says that the rate of decline in biodiversity is low in places where indigenous people own land. Then in Antarctic Treaty, 51 countries have signed the Antarctic Treaty, and it says that the Antarctic can be used for peaceful purposes, and it can be used for science experiments. It can be used for scientific research, and it can and it says that it should not be used for military activity. The things which are prohibited are, it prohibits military activity, explosive activity. So nuclear explosions and dumping the nuclear waste is prohibited in this Antarctic Treaty. So Antarctic Treaty, 51 countries are the parties of Antarctic Treaty. According to this treaty, Antarctica shall be used for peaceful purposes. It can be used for scientific experiments, but it should not be used for military purposes, explosive activities, and nuclear activities, and for dumping of the nuclear waste. It cannot be used for these purposes. This is what Antarctic Treaty has said. And we have bird census. According to the bird census which is released recently, the amount of migratory birds, there is a decline in number of migratory birds. Why? Because the water level is increased. Because of the increase in water level, most of the migratory birds prefer shallow water. So because of the amount of the water level increase, there is a decline in the number of migratory birds, and there is also disturbances in their habitats. And there is also human intervention. These are the causes for the decline in the migratory birds. So the recent bird census say there is a decline in migratory birds because of the increase in the water level in the water fields, because shallow water is the one which is preferred by the migratory birds. So because of this, there is a decline in migratory birds which come to India. So these are the things which we have seen in this video. We have seen 50 current affairs from environment in this video. So subscribe to My Minute IAS Academy. We will be posting videos regularly. Thank you.